Good evening, Commissioners. We'll come to order. We'll begin our portion of the meeting for proclamations and presentations. Commissioners, please remove the 3 resolutions that were scheduled for the meeting tonight. They have been postponed. That brings us to a presentation that we have from the Knox County Forensic Center, and I will turn the meeting over to Dr. Malusnik. And I apologize in advance if I mispronounce that name.
Commissioner Val, I don't see her on here, and I just shot her an email to see if she was having some kind of difficulty. So I know she was prepared. She sent just this afternoon that additional data for you along with the slides. So I did send her the agenda, so maybe she's running a few minutes late. She probably didn't know we were pulling the resolutions, but I've just reached out to her to see what's going on.
All right, Mayor, thank you for that.
I did also invite General Clark to be on the call because he works closely with the Knox Regional Forensic Center. And I also thought he might want to add on to the conversation about the drug overdoses. And Dr. Malusnik is going to talk about that, and they are up somewhat, but I think in terms of looking at some of the other counties, we're doing better. But General Clark, if you want to chime in here.
Sure, I'll be happy to. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commission. Well, you know, it's always a concern. Overdose deaths have been a problem in Tennessee and across the country for years. They've gotten worse recently. The introduction of fentanyl into our country, our state, and our community has been a significant contributor. The ripening of the prescription opioid crisis into an alternative crisis where opioid addicts seek opiates in the form of heroin or fentanyl have been a significant contributing factor. This past month, our CTF seized a pill press, something that we have not seen until recent years, where drug dealers are able to take inert ingredients and combine them with fentanyl or other compounds and produce what look like prescription pills, but in fact are not. They are spiked by drug dealers, often unreliably, and can result in overdose deaths. We're continuing to fight this battle. Fentanyl is a difficult enemy to combat because it is so potent and shipped in such small quantities, typically in UPS or FedEx envelopes. It arrives in a different way than most of our drug trafficking organizations bring drugs into our community. And it's very difficult for us on a local level to stop. I have asked Senator Alexander and those in Washington to try and assist us in Tennessee in intercepting this drug in non-conventional ways, because we're really powerless to intercede at the processing facilities for FedEx and UPS and Memphis and Louisville. So it arrives on doorsteps in Anderson County in these envelopes, and it is so potent that those small quantities go a long way. I have engaged in a public service campaign that's launched about 30 days ago to try and spread the word about fentanyl. One, because of its dangerousness, and two, because of the insidious ways that it is introduced unknowingly to our addicts. Many of the drugs, whether they are street drugs or appear to be prescription drugs, contain fentanyl. And if that substance is unreliably or incompletely mixed or combined, it's unsafe. And so we are starting a campaign to make citizens and children aware that experimenting with drugs in this environment is more dangerous than it has ever been before. And so we are seeing in Anderson County, as they are across our state and country, the impact of the opioid addiction problem and the most recent turn that it is taking, resulting in overdose deaths in Anderson County in alarming numbers.
Thank you, General Clark. Does anyone have any questions for the District Attorney General?
Of course I do. This is Commissioner Scott.
Go ahead, ma'am.
General Clark, what are the methods that people are taking fentanyl? Are they smoking it? Are they just putting it in a pill form? And what kind of pills are they packing it into for resale?
The answer is all of the above. Fentanyl can be smoked knowingly or unknowingly. Fentanyl can be injected knowingly or unknowingly. Fentanyl can be swallowed knowingly or unknowingly. So if you're a heroin addict and you are injecting heroin, the danger is that you will knowingly or unknowingly take fentanyl. Now, in the community of heroin addiction, sometimes fentanyl is marketed as a desirable thing. And the street term might be, this is a hot dose, this is great stuff, it's exciting. And that can be desirable in some circles, and it can be dangerous in others. It is a very complicated problem with dynamic responses by human beings. So for instance, we thought we were doing a great thing with the introduction of which immediately reverses the impact effect of opioids or opiates. And it has been a wonderful drug, and it's saved a lot of folks. But it's also empowered people to do things they might otherwise have been afraid to do. So in some ways, it's like squeezing on a balloon. We try and enforce the law here, but they find a way around it over there, and then we attack that problem, and it squeezes out over here. And so it's this sort of evolving problem. So in answer to your question, anything could contain fentanyl. Fentanyl could be mixed into just about any substance and consumed any way that the base or underlying substance was consumed.
Thank you very much. And one other question is, especially with the issues that we're having with COVID and people going to jail, what happens to a person when they're caught with it, or they're caught selling or reselling or creating it in for a like pills and so forth. And then what are we doing about it when it comes to the legal system? Are they going up the river for years to come, or are they able to bail out and go somewhere else and start their business again?
Commissioner Scott, that was a short question, and I'm struggling to come up with a short answer to that question. Let me address what happens to them first when they are caught. When they are arrested, like anyone else, they are constitutionally guaranteed the right to bail. And so they are presented at our jail, they are bonded in, they are booked and photographed, fingerprinted, and so forth, and a bail is assigned to them, or a bond amount. And they have the right to bond out until those charges can be determined in a court of law. And so sometimes they bond out and sometimes they don't. That depends on their resources, the bond amount against them, and something that is very little understood, and that is the prospects of their conviction. If someone is arrested on any charge and they are pretty convinced that the case against them is strong, they have an incentive to not bond out and stay in jail, because they get more credit for pretrial detention in a county jail than they get in a state prison cell. And so a lot of people could bond out but choose not to, because they know they're going to be convicted and they are essentially logging their time. But to go on with the answer to your question, what happens to them ultimately? If they are charged with possessing fentanyl or an opioid simply for personal use, that would be a misdemeanor offense. Those folks likely are going to be placed on probation. They'll be given an opportunity for treatment, drug testing. They'll be required to work, pay their court costs, pay any restitution they owe to a victim of the crime, and those sorts of things. They may from there progress to community corrections if they have a felony charge. Ultimately, they may progress on to prison, and that prison time might be served in our jail. Too often, I think our Department of Corrections is calling on county jails to accept the responsibility of housing our felons, or they may go on to the Department of Correction to finish their sentence. If they have a felony charge, they may also qualify for our drug court program. Right now, we are not holding jury trials, and haven't for some time. And so our system is under a tremendous strain as we try and ration jail beds and manage our system in such a way that we keep the community safe. We're responsible to our taxpayers who are responsible for the costs of incarcerating folks pretrial, that we are managing our jail beds, the healthcare costs associated with those that we're holding in jail and so forth, while still trying to keep the system working. And Commissioner Vowell and I could probably teach a 2-week course on all of the factors that are associated with trying to manage that. And he and I are in constant communication, trying to manage healthcare costs, health outcomes, pregnancy issues with regard to addicted females that are in our jail population who are typically high-risk pregnancies. And all sorts of health problems that are associated with the inmates. So it's a huge issue that I guess it may not be seen every day, but we're like the proverbial duck paddling like hell underneath the surface, trying to manage these issues.
Well, and thank you very much. The purpose of my questions was really more to educate the people that are out there listening and or paying attention to this, because there's so many times, whether it's with a neighborhood watch group in the city of Oak Ridge or just, getting a message through Facebook of, why are they letting these people go? And why does so-and-so get arrested so many times? So you've answered a big, a lot of questions. And I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Any other questions for General Clark? If not, thank you, General Clark. And I'd like to say that I wish all the commissioners could see the work and the efforts that the Criminal Task Force, all the efforts they perform each and every day. Some of it we can't talk about, but they are a very big asset to the law enforcement community throughout the entire county, not just the Sheriff's Department, but other cities as well. So thank you, sir. Just gotten word that Dr., and I pronounced it correctly the first time, and I'll probably mess it up the second time, Malusinik is here. Doctor, are you there?
I'm here. It just took me a while to hit the microphone, and thank you for having me. And I know that you already have the report attached, and some of you know me, some of you might not remember, but just briefly, the state of Tennessee has a medical examiner system. So I've been medical examiner for Anderson County for a number of years, and General Clark actually is very familiar how it all started, and hopefully we actually maintain the quality of work and dedication that all of you expect. So hopefully, and that's the case. And if there are any issues at any time, you exactly know where you find me. Now, the office is located in Knoxville. It's not unusual actually for several counties to share the medical examiner. So medical examiners replace coroners. And that's where we are. I've been medical examiner then for Knox and Anderson County for a number of years. And this is not unique, actually, that several different counties share the medical examiner because the statute is pretty strict who can be the medical examiner. It has to be a physician. And then for the counties that have regional forensic centers where the autopsy are performed, that physician has to be forensic pathologist, and I'm board certified forensic pathologist. When Anderson County actually, when we made that kind of contract years back, it was just the 3 pathologists, and now we have 5 pathologists because the number of cases have grown tremendously, almost exponentially. And as General Clark pointed out, a lot of it is actually related to drugs, whether directly or indirectly, because accidents and other types of deaths are related to that in some fashion. And from the report that you see is that, and I see that you also have attached some numbers for November, but in general, in your report, we compared the last 3 years, and the numbers have gone up kind of slightly if you look at it, but certain categories have definitely gotten worse. So for accidents and homicides, actually, we kind of maintain the number. That's good. But the problem is that whereas the motor vehicle accidents and firearm deaths have gone down, the drug overdoses have gone up. And I know there was a question, the modality, how drugs are taken. And the most that we've seen in our office are snorted or injected when it comes to fentanyl. And then the fentanyl numbers are here, 22, methamphetamine 15, and heroin 7, and some of them have mixed drugs too. And that's quite a few deaths, and they're mostly, well, there's some women, but men do die more from drug-related deaths. And the problem also is that if they're not directly related, such as acute intoxication, the sequela or consequence or complications of IV drug abuse is also quite predominant. Now, if there are chronic complications, we call them natural as far as the manner of that. But we do see those complications also here in this office because of the long-term injection of drugs, which is becoming more and more prevalent. And I'm not really sure how what's happening in Anderson County as far as the distribution of sterile syringes or whatnot, but it seems like here in Knox County, from the time when the syringes have become widely available for distribution in order to reduce the number of hepatitis C deaths or infections, it looks like that has propagated or increased the number of IV drug abuse deaths. So that's something to look into. And what was very interesting when you look at the graphs, actually, that the medical examiner actually is actually here. We can continue to the next slide. Is the pie chart actually just outlines the kind of number of cases for the last 3 years, and the green is actually the this year 2020, and you can see actually that's the largest slice. In the next graph is the monthly cases, and the green, which we're going to focus on now, that's kind of in comparison at the same time, the previous 2 years, 2018 being blue, orange is 2019, and of course green is 2020. We are still tabulating data for 2020, will be done pretty soon because we have more pathologists now to work on the cases. But you can see that the green is actually starting to kind of exceed the other 2 years, especially October, November. We noticed changes in kind of April and May because the trend, you have to kind of remember also one thing, the trend for drug overdose deaths was, they were actually trending down in 2019. And we were really on a good positive trajectory. We were very, very hopeful that 2020 would bring up even better results. And then, of course, in March and April, that all changed. We were doing better, and then things just spiral out of proportion. And they're especially bad now, October, November, around the holidays, and maybe because of the colder weather. So you can see that the numbers are going up. So this is just monthly overall cases. In the next graph, these are scenes attended. So what does that mean? To be a medical examiner, that actually requires medical legal death investigation, meaning that when somebody is found dead at a scene, and we cover deaths that are sudden, unexpected, without medical attendance or due to violence. So it's a wide spectrum of the conditions that we investigate and accept jurisdiction over. That means that the call comes from either dispatch or law enforcement. Our investigator goes to the scene. We have 10 investigators, so we cover Knox and Anderson County, which means that we go to the scene and we investigate that in conjunction with the law enforcement. And that's very important, especially if there is any requests or any expectation of kind of impartiality, and the perfect example would be in custody that we are seen as an independent, objective agency, so it doesn't turn out that law enforcement investigate law enforcement. We are there as sort of like an investigating, objective third part or independent agency that can actually bring some sort of objectivity, and I think it really helps because we do our thing kind of in conjunction with the police, but we are not under them, which helps the public kind of perceive us as somebody who is kind of on their side. I obviously, you know, the law enforcement does a good job. You know, we have never really had any issues, but I believe for the public, sometimes things can get kind of dicey and the expectations really high or unrealistic, so they can actually see that somebody else is kind of on their side, so to speak. So these are the scene attended. You can see that they have definitely gone up in May, August, September, and October. And for December, actually, we're going to have increased number. On the next graph, we tabulate actually cremations. What does that mean? So not just cases that are medical examiners cases that are our jurisdiction, but all cases all deaths from Anderson County are reported to us. So no one can get cremated unless the medical examiner reviews the case. So even if somebody comes to Methodist Medical Center and they die there, and the physician or a nurse might think that it's not our case, they do report the case to us, so we can actually go through the history, review the case, and then deem that jurisdiction, kind of reject jurisdiction or deem the case ours or accept jurisdiction. And one perfect example actually is a case for Monroe County, just to let you know that we do autopsies for the surrounding 23 counties, meaning that they have medical examiners who are primary care physicians, some are actually surgeons, some are retired. But if they need an autopsy, they send the case to us. So a perfect example is actually a case that happened in Monroe County. It was a multiple gunshot wound shooting. The gentleman ended up going to University of Tennessee Medical Center. He was hospitalized for a month or two. And then it's kind of like a broken telephone kind of game, is that multiple gunshot wounds became in the medical records, motor vehicle accident, and then became a fall, and he was never reported to us. He gets buried, and now tomorrow actually we have to do exhumation, because not only is he a homicide that needs a full autopsy and full investigation, but he's also holding a couple of bullets that needed to be retrieved, because obviously General Clark is going to tell you that makes a big difference when there is prosecution of a case like that. So we are trying to avoid instances like that. So had that case like that been reported to us as a cremation, we would have caught that during that time, and then we would accept jurisdiction and avoid, you know, exhumation. So that's why we review all the cremations, because sometimes cases do not get reported to us, especially if their time passes between the injury and the time when they die. And so the next chart is going to show bodies sent to the Regional Forensic Center. They kind of vary a little bit, but again, keep in mind that we were doing really, really well in 2019. The trend was actually positive, and now the cases are up again. The green line definitely shows you that the cases that we bring in are increasing. And so that's part of triage that we do. So at the scene, our investigators can actually review they do full physical examination. They obviously exchange information with the law enforcement. They can access medical records remotely on their laptops that they're provided, and they can also access CSMD, that's the prescription information, especially for controlled substance prescription information. And there's anything suspicious or the medications are not in count, or for medical records, actually there's something that is not satisfactory. And of course, if somebody is young with no medical history, then with the case comes to us, the individual, the decedent comes to our office. And we leave the information with the family members so they know exactly where they're going, where their loved one is going to be, and how to reach us and how to obtain information from us. And then every morning we meet at 7 o'clock, and then we do the second tier triage, meaning that we decide, is this individual going to require a full autopsy, or we can do a complete full body x-ray exam with the physical examination and toxicology, and some ancillary studies if necessary, including microbiology, COVID testing, or anything that the family might desire. And then the next graph is showing the accidental deaths. So accident, that's a really broad category that encompasses motor vehicle accidents, falls, any other trauma, and drugs. Because at the end of the case, we determine the cause and manner of death. The cause and manner of death are entered in the death certificate, and then that's registered through the state database. So the acute drug deaths are accidents, and you can see actually that the green is becoming prominent in May, and then especially kind of August, September, and then definitely is going to be high in October, November, and December, and that's because I guess it's multifactorial, but one of the things is that if individuals lose jobs or lose hope, they retreat to drugs. And that's one of the things that it's kind of a common theme in many counties. The next is the natural deaths, and that's high too. And we also have explanation for that. What's happening, a lot of individuals are afraid to go to the hospitals. And we had cases where the family said they've been feeling chest pains or symptoms of heart attack, but they're afraid to go to the emergency room or even to their physician because of COVID, and then they die at home. So we see an increase in natural deaths, dying at home, in spite of the fact that they had symptoms. And also, another thing is happening now that we've been warning the hospitals here, and including Methodist Medical Center, is that we had several instances, several situations with individual actually goes to the emergency room or a walk-in clinic. They have certain symptoms. And the first thought always comes, especially if they're presenting with kind of nebulous flu-like symptoms, the first thought that comes to mind is always COVID. And if they test positive for COVID, they send them home to recover with hydration, rest, and Tylenol. And then it turns out when they die a couple hours later and become our case, that actually they had a condition that was treatable, and it was not related to COVID, and had they caught it and thought about it sooner, the patient might have survived. One of the examples is diabetic ketoacidosis. We had several individuals who presented with a kind of COVID-like symptoms, tested positive, but in essence, it was not COVID at all. I mean, they had COVID, but they died with COVID, not from COVID. What they died actually was diabetic ketoacidosis because they didn't take their medication. And when they were actually in the emergency room or in a walk-in clinic, nobody tested their sugar, nobody did any other laboratory results, which is actually one of the problems that is happening now. And we're kind of becoming kind of short-sighted a little bit in even our own field and not thinking clearly. And the next is suicides. Actually, something happened that was very interesting. The suicides overall in Tennessee have gone up. But in Knox and Anderson counties, actually, compared to previous years, especially 2019, there are not significantly increased. And I think part of the reason is that our work actually has a sort of kind of preventative sort of a streak, and nobody thinks about it because our patients are kind of dead. But not the problem, but one of the I guess advantages is that we do communicate with the families and with the physicians and the mayors in both counties. And when we had a surge in March, right after all the closures and quarantines and everything, there was actually a surge, and you can see like a little number there. It was not so much prominent for Anderson County, it was more prominent for Knox County. And we warned everybody that might be an issue, and then there were red lines and telephone lines and the helplines that were advertised widely. And maybe that's why in our community, actually, we did not experience that much of a surge in suicide compared to the rest of the state. So that's kind of part of the prevention. We can not help this person, but maybe we can reach out as a community and help somebody else. And then finally, the next paragraph is talking about the drug-related deaths. Again, the green, you can see that is really in most months, March, April, May, and then again, July, and then it's picking up again now, September, October, November, definitely they've been up. Anderson County was doing really well in 2019. Again, I said we were hoping to maintain the trend, and then things just kind of spiraled out of control. And then many of the cases do mix drugs too. So sometimes we find fentanyl and methamphetamine, like the new kind of speedball combination in many individuals. And then finally, the next is motor vehicle accidents, which overall has not really increased much. And the next is anthropology cases. What that means, some of you remember Dr. Bass. He's retired now. He teaches, but we do have anthropologists here who helps us with those cases. Those are the individuals who are found either in their homes or outside, and they're already become skeletal, and the number has gone up drastically. When you compare the blue and orange from the previous 2 years, we had 9. Which actually is, again, consequence of one of those things that we are not checking on each other as frequently, and individuals are dying in certain locations and even in their homes. The problem is, even if they're in their home, we still have to do proper investigation, because sometimes they might not end up being who they think they are, especially the residents who are unsecure. So that number is up again because people are dying alone. They're not being checked on for a long time, and then we have to kind of do a kind of anthropologic examination on them. And we did have individuals also found outside, and they required pretty much skeletal evaluation, because that was all that was left from them, which is kind of interesting. So that's pretty much a summary of what has been happening over the last 3 years. I know that you don't see me often, but if you ever have any questions regarding what we do, how we do it, why we do it, we are easy. I'm easy to find, easy to reach out to. And one more thing that we do is that we do participate in some courses and teaching. We had a couple of sessions with the police academy, give them kind of our lectures, especially to young recruits, and also as their in-service training, what we do, how we do it, certain examples, and how to best collaborate. And also we hold National Forensic Academy training. I know they're situated at Oak Ridge, but they also come to us for kind of forensic lectures, and we kind of share that responsibility and teaching. And then lastly, with all the COVID and everything, our investigators have never actually missed a step. They've gone to every single scene, and none of them have contracted COVID from anybody. They, as I said, go to all different locations. They always wear PPE, personal protective equipment. They maintain reasonable distancing, but there was never really any complaint or any issue. So essentially, we continued to work smoothly throughout all of this kind of COVID I guess, scare. So we did not miss any scene. We did not really change anything except for being a little bit more careful as far as the personal protective equipment. And I'm proud to say that none of us have contracted any COVID from anybody from any scene. So that's actually a good thing, because obviously it did not really affect our operation in any greater detail, which means that actually most businesses, as long as they continue doing well and following guidelines, should do the same. So you have any questions?
Any questions for the doctor?
Could I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, General. Go ahead, sir.
Just from my perspective in working with the Forensic Center and Dr. Malusnik on a regular basis, I want to commend her in particular and the center in general for the work that they do. Dr. Malusnik is a wonderful scientist. She's a great communicator in working with our law enforcement officers. She's open to communicate with them, and it does a tremendous amount to help our homicide investigations when they can get direction, guidance, and instruction from Dr. Malusnik and her colleagues. In addition to that, she's a wonderful witness, powerful witness at trial, and just in general does a wonderful job as our medical examiner. And I also want to commend this commission and prior commissions, our county mayor. We made a decision years ago to change the relationship and type of arrangement that we had with regard to forensic pathology. And the commission made a decision to move into this kind of relationship with the Forensic Center, and it has stood us in good stead. We get information more timely and more completely than some of our surrounding counties. And that kind of information helps me and my office prosecute folks that are responsible for committing horrible crimes in Anderson County. And that information, the kind of information you've received tonight, helps us in my office and our law enforcement agencies make informed decisions about allocating our precious resources, our law enforcement resources. So as we see trends affecting overdose cases and deaths in Anderson County, we reallocate resources to try and attack the problems that are killing people in our community at the present time. And it's a constant struggle, as I indicated earlier, and without the kind of thorough and immediate information that Dr. Malusnik and her office provide, that operation would be much more difficult. So I'm grateful to Commission and Dr. Malusnik for all they do to help keep Anderson County safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, General. I believe Commissioner Denenberg had a question for you, sir. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner. General Clark, during Dr. Malusnik's presentation, I got to thinking about something else that you had said regarding the incarceration of these people with the drug issues. And in particular, of course, pregnant women, and then the medical that comes with that. Men and women, how are we handling inmates who are incarcerated that do have drug issues?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because it gives me another opportunity to brag on the commission. Anderson County does more to address addiction issues with regard to our incarcerated population than other counties in our area. The program at the jail, Commissioner Val would be much better suited than I to provide details of that information, but we provide training and classes and opportunities to our inmate population in a way and to a degree that don't exist in other or most other county jails. We did that, you did that, because we felt like it was an investment that might save lives and change our community and make it safer. And I think that's been money well spent. Mary Ann left us recently, and I think there's an opening there to fill with regard to her programs, but that's largely what I'm talking about. But there are other programs in our jail. We have drug court, we have community corrections, both programs that have been added in recent years. So we try and be smart in the way that we address these problems. I mean, it would be wonderful if we had unlimited resources to do all the things that we know work, but we don't have unlimited resources. No one has unlimited resources. And so we have to make smart decisions in allocating our resources.
Thank you, General Clark. And Dr. Malusik, thank you very much for a very enlightening presentation.
Thank you. Just one last word is that one thing that is really good because we are paperless and we have a really good database and the general in his office have access to that is that we can really follow the trends in real time. And if there's any spike of any kind related to any condition or any drug or anything like that, then we can definitely respond in a timely fashion. And I also would add two more quick things and I'll stop, is that we also participate in child death review and actually Anderson County has done really well. I think it's part of the participation and education of the entire community, and I think that's actually very positive. And also we have recently we do have a mass disaster plan. Actually, I'm just reviewing it for our county, and we're going to send it to you and the mayor also for Anderson County, because obviously, God forbid something were to happen, we would respond. And we recently through that COVID relief funds, we obtained a new a mobile morgue and cooler. Again, hopefully we'll never have to use it, but we do have it, and also belongs to you as much as belongs to Knox County. If we need, if God forbid Anderson County were to need it, we have it. So I just wanted to add those two things. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, and thank you, General. Any further questions for the Doctor or the General? If not, thank you all very much. That concludes this portion of the meeting for proclamations and presentations. We'll take about a 5-minute break and we'll turn it over to Chairman Anderson. Thank you all.
Is everyone back on? Looks like Commissioner Mead, or it's showing you connected but not present. Are you back?
He's away from his screen right now.
Okay. We'll wait another minute on Commissioner Mead. Okay, let's go ahead and call the December meeting of the Anderson County Board of Commissioners to order. We're going to have the prayer led by Ms. Barbara McCord of Oak Ridge and the pledge by Commissioner Val. Ms. McCord, whenever you're ready.
I am ready. And I'm going to be sharing a two-part prayer from the Baha'i writings from our central figures. One part is on the oneness of humanity, and the other is for healing. Beginning. O thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, we are servants of thine, sheltered beneath thy providence. Cast thy glance of favor upon us. Give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and understanding and love to our hearts. Render our souls joyous and happy through thy glad tidings. O Lord, point out to us the pathway of thy kingdom and resuscitate all of us through the breaths of the Holy Spirit. May we all follow thy pathway, long for thy good pleasure, and seek the mysteries of thy kingdom. Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Amen.
Commissioners, if you'll join me in the salute. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Val. And if we could, we've had a moment of silence requested for Miss Patsy Stair, our former county trustee who passed away recently, as well as Commissioner Mark Alderson and Mr. Joe Fogarty, who passed away since our last November meeting. So if we can have a moment of silence for them.
I was being pretty subtle there, but I think I see what you're getting at. I get that everyone together and told them the plan. We are all going to hide from Jamie. We talked about it and found an awesome hiding spot outside the building, but we had to have everyone sneak out one by one so that he wouldn't notice right away. Some people were really afraid that they would spill the beans, and others were afraid that they wouldn't hold up to Jamie's question. So they had to go first. Other people had jobs that either
Okay, thank you. And move on to appearance of citizens, and quickly, if Ms. McCord, if you're still on, if you just want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and your community, you're welcome to do that. And then we'll see if anyone else is online.
Certainly, I'd be happy to. First of all, I'm honored to be asked to offer a prayer for this invocation for our commission. I live in Oak Ridge, member of the Baha'i Faith community in Oak Ridge, the elected spiritual assembly. There is a larger group, of course, in Knoxville with the center, and we attend our Holy Day and larger events in Knoxville, but we meet in people's homes in Oak Ridge. And the Baha'i Faith has been in the Knoxville area for almost 100 years, and we are growing slowly, and we believe in the oneness of God, the oneness of human family, and the oneness of religion. So you probably have seen a few things that we've done. We are involved in service in the community as much as possible. Is there anything else you wanted to know? Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, I wish Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. There's many, many holidays being celebrated between the end of November and the beginning of January, for sure.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Is there anyone signed in that would like to address commission about any items not on the agenda? If so, just let me know. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Just give us your name and address. Okay. If not, if anyone does sign in later, we can come back around to you. But if not, if we don't have anyone now, let's move on to the approval and correction of the agendas. First up is the consent agenda. A motion by Commissioner Meade, seconded by Commissioner Yeager to approve as presented.
That's correct.
All right. Let's go to the board and vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next, approval or correction of the regular agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so Rick Meredith, I would like to add under the law director's report a resolution that was sent out to you later today on the opioid clinic in Clinton. I'd like to add that as E under his report.
Okay. Item E under law director's report.
Yeah, so moved. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner
Yeah.
Isabel,
Yes, Commissioner.
I would like to add under Operations Committee report, discussion of closing the courthouse foot traffic due to the COVID pandemic, asked by Commissioner Denenberg.
Okay. Under the operations report.
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if this is Mayor Frank, if we could add under the purchasing agenda, I emailed you a grant amendment. This is just extending no other terms to the built environment grant for the construction of furthering a walking track and raised gardens at the Norwood Elementary and Middle School campus. This extends that date to 5/31, and the law director has reviewed this and approved it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other corrections? If not, we've got a motion by Commissioner McCamey. Is that to approve with the corrections?
Yes, sir.
And seconded by Commissioner Wandell. Any other discussion on the regular agenda? Okay, let's go vote. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next up, purchasing report, Catherine Ajmiri.
Actually, Chairman Anderson, it's going to be me tonight. Catherine's on vacation this week, so I'll be doing the purchasing report.
Sounds good. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, sir. Under A, contracts approved by the law director, 1 through 8, 4 canon contracts, and a provision, and 2 for the TCAP building, and the Charter Commission law director. Seeking approval as a group, or we can discuss individually.
A motion by Commissioner Fritz to approve as a group,
That's correct.
seconded by Commissioner Meredith.
Yes.
All right, any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, number 9, I pulled out. It's been approved by the law director, the purchase and sale agreement with AmeriGas Propane. There were some concerns, sent an email, so I thought maybe this one might have some discussion, or they might want to explain a little before we vote on it.
Motion by Commissioner McCamey, seconded by Commissioner Wandell to approve. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Jay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I sent that memo out for you just to let you know our concerns. I do not think it's a deal breaker. I've spoken with the mayor today. We think we can work through all those issues. I just wanted you to be aware of some of the issues that were contained in that contract, and so you can make a decision. But I don't believe any of them will prohibit the closing of this piece of real estate. And remember, we do have a 60-day period once we execute the contract and send in the earnest money of $5,000 to do any due diligence reports that we need to do. But I don't think anything in there is going to be a deal breaker. We'll work through those.
Thank you. Any questions for Jay or any other discussion?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would ask would be that we just specify in that motion that it's contingent upon negotiating some of those concerns. So for instance, I believe Mr. Pruitt raised in there one of the bullet points mentioned confidentiality. Well, there is no confidentiality for a government contract. There are some things like that, as Jay said, that are not material, but that do need to be cleaned up in the contract itself. And when I reached out to Jay about that, he said he didn't believe any of that affected anything, but we could do it contingent upon correcting those. And I don't foresee any issue with that company, approving or updating that contract to government form. Because they actually created that contract from the commercial side of things as opposed to the government side of things.
Commissioners McCamey and Wandell, are you okay with that language in your motion?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Commissioner Creasy.
Yes, as you know, with the public, we don't have a good track record. We need to keep this contract as clean as we can before we vote on it. I had some concerns when I read it over, but I'm not that up to date on real estate legal issues, and well, it never was to begin with, but I'm uncomfortable with the language so far in the report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
my voting pad just died on me, so I'm voting yes.
Okay, Commissioner McCamey votes yes verbally. Looks like we got that locked in. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Robbie?
Okay, in section B, contracts pending law director approval, all three have been approved by the law director now. Seeking approval as a group or individually.
Commissioner Fritz? Is that a motion or a?
No, I just wanted to say before we moved on, what we just voted on is sort of a unique situation. This, if this goes through, this is going to be a big deal. A big plus for the county. We're not. We're getting a big deal on this property, and it's a major win for us, and we're not going to take no loss. The citizens are going to gain from it, and it's going to be a major improvement for that area up there. And so it's going to be a major win for the citizens of District 1.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. And got a motion by Commissioner Fritz, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge.
That's correct.
Any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
My vote is yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner McCamey votes yes verbally. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, under new business in the purchasing meeting, there was the OCJP grant contract with ASAP subcontract. Commissioner Yeager made a motion to authorize the county mayor to request a termination for convenience from the OCJP for the OCJP JAG Recovery and Resilience Grant that includes a subcontract addendum with ASAP of Anderson County. Commissioner Yeager seconded the motion, and the motion passed unanimously. Roll call vote. This has to be approved by county commission also.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fritz, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Commissioner McCamey,
My vote is yes.
yes, okay. Commissioner McCamey votes yes verbally.
Hey, Robert, your tablet is online because it shows connected. I have a feeling it's just in an off state. Power it as far as the screen back on because it shows you connected.
And Commissioner Meredith, are you having technical issues?
I voted.
Oh, so you voted? Okay. Okay, it went through now. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and the last thing on the purchasing committee, we need a motion, as the mayor had added to the agenda, to approve the built environment contract extension with the term end extended to May 31st, 2021.
Motion by Commissioner Wandell, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge to approve that extension. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
My vote is yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner McCamey votes yes verbally. Motion passes unanimously. And we're ready for the budget report whenever you are, Robbie.
Yes, sir. I'll move right on in. Cash and fund balance report. For the general fund, restricted funds were at $1,008,175. Committed funds, $2,165,498. Assigned funds are at $2,019,148. And unassigned fund balance is at $6,137,307 for total fund balance $11,330,128. And our cash was at $9,072,964, which is up from last year at almost $1 million this time. Any questions on the cash and fund balance report? Okay, sales tax. October sales tax were up 19% for the county, and for Anderson County, the county portion, we were up 118%, and we got November's in this week, and the county was up 14%, and Anderson County, November was up 64%. So we continue to do really well in sales tax. In fact, every month, I'm always have good news about the sales tax report, and the mayor shared something in budget committee, and I asked her if I could steal it from her and discuss it or just share it with you guys tonight. It's been a year since Rule 129 went into effect, and Anderson County has seen a 96% change with a total growth of over 2,347,434, which puts us in a tie for the fourth largest change in the state. So I think that's just shows how well we've done. So I just wanted to share that with you all.
What counties are up? Are we up in the ranking with?
Humphreys County was at 407%. Smith County and Anderson and Carroll County are tied for third or fourth. Carroll County only had a $370,000 in growth, and we had 2.3 million, but they're obviously a smaller county than Anderson County.
Right.
But yeah. Any questions about the sales tax report? All right, the budget amendments. Group 2 appropriations from the school department. There are 5 of them seeking approval as a group or individually.
Motion by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Commissioner Meade to approve as a group.
This Commissioner Meade approve as a group.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, let's vote.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
McCamey's voting yes verbally. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, group 3 are transfers from the school department. There are numbers 11 through 21. Actually, the school department didn't have any budget amendments last month, and so they had, I guess they saved them up for this month. Told Julie she hit us all at once. For seeking approval as a group or individually, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jameson, seconded by Commissioner Wandell to approve as a group. Any discussion on the motion? All right, let's vote. Commissioner McCamey, are you?
Yes, voting yes.
Voting yes verbally. Okay, thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, group 4 appropriations non-school 22 through 36 with number 35 being removed, seeking approval as a group or individually.
Is that a new motion, Commissioner Jameson and Wandell, or is that from the old? I think that's the old board.
I do too.
Yeah, I think we're froze up. Got a motion by Commissioner Smallridge, seconded by Commissioner McCamey. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and the last budget amendment I have tonight is a transfer from the Fund 171 capital projects for $26,700.
A motion by Commissioner Wandell, seconded by Commissioner Meade. Did you have a question, Commissioner Jameson, or were you trying to second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Motion passes unanimously.
That's all I have tonight. Chairman Anderson, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Any questions for Robbie? Thank you, Robbie. Have a good Christmas.
Be safe, Robbie.
Next up, Director of Schools, Dr. Parrott.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just want to start out by saying I hope everybody is safe and healthy tonight. Just a couple of things I want to do. First of all, I want to brag on our teachers and our staff. They have done, they've went above and beyond this semester to make students had everything they needed to be successful. They've just done an amazing job. I know we got to that last week and we had to go online for about 3 days, and that really wasn't due to the high number of COVID cases. It was due to the high number of people that we had to put in quarantine from household contacts. So we are hopeful that we can go back to school. Our plan is to start school on time, in person, come January. If that changes, we will try our best to get that information out, but we always know that in-person learning is best. Wanted to also just say a thing about, through this COVID, we had really relied on cleaning our schools and making sure we had all of our safety precautions in place. And the ESG project that we did a couple of years ago with the INI systems that is in every one of our buildings, it's done a tremendous job to really and truly to stop the spread. We've not had any places where we saw that we've had contacts and we've spread the virus, so that is great on our end. Our attendance is still holding good. There's a typo in there I wish was true, but instead of 69.57, we have 59.57. We are still holding true. We've not students, not gained a lot of students this year. Our kindergarten, 50 students. We know a lot of parents decided to keep their students home this year. And so we're looking at as they say, a bumper crop next year for our kindergarten. So we're really looking how that will turn out. The other thing is all of our teachers now have new ThinkPad laptops. Every core teacher, our special area teachers, our special ed teachers, our librarians, everybody got new laptops. So we're excited about that. So if we do have to go remotely, they do have the equipment they need. One last thing I was asked last month, we are changing all of our phone systems from AT&T over to ENA. ENA is the place that does our internet provider. And through this first year, we've really found out there's a lot of lines that we didn't need. There was a lot of lines that for one reason or the other, AT&T was just kind of hard to work with. So we've tried to take those lines out, and the savings is going to be somewhere between $75,000 and $85,000 a year. And those savings, we're taking those savings and putting them right back into our maintenance program to put in new phone systems into each of our schools. We have already this year put a new phone system into Norwood Elementary School and Briceville Elementary School. And I hope you got a chance to look at our report this month. We've got a lot of maintenance done this year, and that's all because of the foresight that you all had to help us to put that fund, that 177 fund together, that, we can go ahead and get that preventive maintenance out of the way and make sure we don't come up in 5 or 10 years and needing to borrow $15,000 just to bring everything up to code. So at this time, I'll take any questions.
Commissioner Meade.
Yeah, Governor Lee put out Executive Order 70 in just the last day or two. And in that, he restricts any groups of 10 or more in, quote, indoor public places. And that's the only thing in the entire order that is a requirement, not just a recommendation. And so right now that goes until 19 January. And when I called and talked to some folks in Nashville, they said this would include schools as public places. It does specifically exempt weddings, funerals, and church services. But otherwise, this could be an impact on whether or not kids can be in the actual in-play school after January 1. I just didn't know if he'd heard about it yet.
Yes, we got a report from the Tennessee School Board Association tonight, and that did not include schools. They sent out I guess they've got their wires crossed, but the only thing we have to do on that is if we're an essential worker, we have to make sure we have a mask mandate in place. Now, they did change the rules on TSSAA, our sports, that only the players, the coaches, and a family member can be in the audience. You can't have cheerleaders, band, you can't have a dance team, things like that. So that's something that we've really got to look at. We've got a meeting tomorrow on that. Right now, we have everything is kind of on pause right now with the way this COVID is going. We're going to try to make a decision. I know these players have worked real hard, but we want to make sure we can be safe and have everything in place. So if something happens, we can start playing in January. January. So yeah, that and Commissioner out questions too. And then I don't know what happened with that, but we got to update this afternoon that it doesn't include schools, that we can go back to school in person if safe.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad to hear that, because when I asked that specific question to a state representative, I was told it absolutely included schools, but that was based on a discussion just before it was signed. But the way it's worded, they're going to have to change the wording or else just give some kind of a clarification. But that's good. Thanks.
Exactly right. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dr. Parrott. Any other questions? We'll move on to the Law Director report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
It's somewhat muffled, Jay.
Yeah, got new technology tonight. Does anybody have any questions on the contract approvals? Okay, we have two new lawsuits there, Nancy Talent and also Benny Lowe. Then a couple of lawsuit updates, Knox Energy versus Anderson County. I sent you out the order on that. The county prevailed in most of the areas there on personal property. The administrative law judge decided that the road construction and the well bore itself, the gravel, pavement, and the fracking fluid would not be taxable as personal property. All the other equipment, machinery, materials, those are taxable now as personal property. That worked out to be about a $9 million assessment on that. The Toyota versus Anderson County, as I sent you earlier, several of those cases were dismissed by the taxpayer. Myself and Mr. Alley traveled to Nashville and presented our position on the 2013 through 2020 tax appeals. We're waiting on the administrative law judge decision on that case. Probably will take 2 or 3 weeks on that. the delinquent tax lawsuit. That's for the city of Norris and Oak Ridge. We were awarded a default judgment on that. You've taken care of item D. That's the new Wolf Valley Convenience Center, and I deeply appreciate that, and certainly all the help of the Commissioner Wandell, Commissioner Fritz, Commissioner McCamey, and the mayor on that contract. And as I've said before, that's going to be a true asset to the citizens of Anderson County, especially those in South Clinton, Powell, High School, and Claxton area. Thank you so much. Those honorary resolutions have all been removed. We'll see those in January. The last item I have is the resolution that was added by Commissioner Meredith. That is, the city of Clinton asked us to endorse the resolution asking for the state not to approve the drug rehab facility on Clinch Avenue. That's the resolution that was sent out today shortly after, I think, 5 o'clock. Does anybody have any questions on that late resolution or any of the business on my law director's report? If possible, we need a motion to approve that if you so desire.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Or two. What other information do we have? I mean, just to say no, that we don't want a drug treatment center. What information, in addition to just this resolution, do we have to enable us to make a good decision on this? We certainly want to be supportive of our, the city of Clinton, but I certainly would want more information about why the drug treatment center was going to be put there, who they were going to treat, what.
Commissioner Denenberg, let me let Commissioner Meredith answer that. He had,
okay.
I think he had sent out the motion. Looks like he's wanting to speak. Commissioner Meredith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a good question, Commissioner Denenberg. Basically, this was came at the 11th hour, and I apologize for that. That they applied to the state. This is a big company out of Texas. The city's position is, obviously, it's allowed, but I think where they're wanting to do it, this location's in South Clinton. If you're familiar with the Ingalls Shopping Center, it is right there at the old Advance Auto building. The city really feels like that's, they're not trying to say don't come, but that's just with the bridge and everything they're trying to do with downtown redevelopment, they just don't feel like that's the appropriate location. So they passed this resolution on Friday at their city council meeting, and they asked me to bring it to you all today. I have spoken with the state, Senator McNally. The process will go forward. There will be a public hearing around the second week of January. And then there's a February 24th hearing in Nashville for the certificate of need. This is just part of the process. As far as the opposition, it's just basically where it's at, where they're wanting to locate.
I am seeing that in some information I've just received, that it's not that they don't want the facility, it's the location that they don't feel is appropriate.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Got a motion by Commissioner Meredith and seconded by Commissioner Isbell. And the motion is a resolution in opposition to the location of the rehab center. Do we have any discussion, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, and yes vote is in opposition, and no vote is against the resolution. Okay, let's vote. Motion passes.
That's all I have for you, Mr. Chairman, and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Does anybody have any other questions that you have of me? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. Merry Christmas. Next up, committee reports. We got the Operations Committee report by Operations Chairman Isbell. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, Commissioner Meade made a motion to support the mayor in calling for a workshop with the Tennessee Valley Coalition for the Homeless and the Trinity Outreach Center of Hope, have a better understanding of their terms of outreach and assistance to see if Anderson County can partner with these organizations. Commissioner Anderson seconded the motion. Motion passed forward to full commission for approval.
And got a motion by Commissioner Val, seconded by Commissioner Meade. Any discussion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay, let's vote. Commissioner Smallridge.
Right, I'm back. Okay, I'm ready now.
Oh, you're ready? Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. 16 yes, motion passes unanimously.
Commissioner McCamey made a motion to authorize the mayor to pursue a USDA community facilities loan and grant program for the construction, furnishing, and equipping of a full-size animal shelter. Commissioner Anderson seconded motion. Motion passed for roll call vote for the full commission for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Smallridge, seconded by Commissioner McCamey. Commissioner Waddell.
We are grateful to the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out this is another loan. It's more debt for Anderson County. Just a month or two ago, we decided that we couldn't give our employees raises. We gave them bonuses because we were concerned about what's coming. If we're going to be able to afford to even give our employees raises. So I think to pile more debt on Anderson County citizens, as this commission has done for the last 6-7 years now, is irresponsible. I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Commissioner Waddell. Commissioner Yeager.
Thank you. This is not a commitment to spend funds. This is just a commitment to apply. And then if we do decide to build, that's a separate order altogether. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the motion or discussion? Okay, let's go to the board and
I
vote.
wish to thank,
Go ahead, Commissioner Creasy. I'm sorry.
yeah, I just wish to thank Mr. Yeager there for his comments. That certainly clarifies it for us. Thank you, Commissioner Yeager.
Commissioner Meade.
Yeah, that's what I actually was going to say, is that this only gives us a chance to put in for the grant. And if we get the grant, then we make the decision what we want to do. But I will also note that a very much smaller amount was voted on and was defeated in the last meeting about the senior center. So I feel a little strange about not putting money into the senior center that's really needed, and then putting the money in a much larger amount potentially to an animal shelter. But both are essential. I'm just concerned about the senior citizens kind of taking second place. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Meade. Any other discussion? Okay, let's vote. Got 14 yes, 2 no. Motion passes.
Commissioner Meredith made a motion requesting to place a portrait of former Commissioner Mark Alderson in the back of the commission room. Commissioner Wandell seconded the motion. Motion passed for roll call vote for the full commission for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Meredith, seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion on the motion? Let's vote. 15 yes, 1 no. Motion passes.
Next, Mr. Chairman, that was added to the Operations Committee report was discussion of closing courthouse to foot traffic due to COVID pandemic, as per Commissioner Denenberg's request.
Commissioner Waddell.
Yeah, thank you for letting me speak. And I'm going to be opposed to this also. The courthouse belongs to our citizens. They come to do business there, and they need it open. I don't know why we would close the courthouse.
Thank you, Commissioner Waddell. Commissioner Scott. I'm sorry, Commissioner Scott, you're making a motion. Your motion is?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion that the elected officials' offices in the main or in our courthouses actually go remote for the time being. We've got several alternative ways for people to get what they need, whether it's through a drive-through or through the mail. They can get their answers over the phone. I've got a real issue with people being sick as a result of sick people coming to the courthouse, or courthouses, I should say. So I'd like to make a motion that they go virtual, at least until the governor says we can meet in groups of larger than 10.
Got a motion by Commissioner Scott. Do we have a second? Motion seconded by Commissioner Denenberg. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioners, Commissioner Yeager.
The question I have is this just the courthouse or all county-owned buildings or county-operated buildings?
I'd say at least all county buildings. I mean, we've got all these different locations, like I said, that that people can get what it is that they need. Whether they're going to the library, they have a way to be able to order a book and they bring it out to their car, et cetera. But yes.
Commissioner Isbell.
I was just going to, some of the information that Commissioner Denenberg had sent me is that she had talked with most of the officials here at the courthouse. Don Elledge and Rex has talked to Judge Layton, and they're on board with that. I'm just repeating what Commissioner Denenberg had sent out, and she's talked to several people. And I see that she's going to talk next. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Denenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like Commissioner Isbell just stated, I have talked with just about all of our fee offices today. And quite frankly, they were well ahead of me. Evidently, they have been having conversation amongst themselves about this very issue and concerned about the terrible spike and the fact that we have become number one. And I have a feeling that a lot of our abilities to become number one are due to the people who just absolutely refuse to wear a mask. With that said, if this is what we need to do to help stem the curve downward, and our offices are more than willing, ready, and able to work in a manner that they did in last March, I feel that we need to move forward with doing this. Now, I am not suggesting that County Commission dictate to these offices how they operate. They are the ones who know what they need to do and how they need to do it. But to protect them and to absolutely help in any way we can, I feel that if this will do it, then we should move forward. Now, I'm pretty sure that a good number of the officers or elected officials are with us this evening. And I certainly would urge them to speak up and make their feelings known. One person that I was not able to speak with earlier today is the juvenile courts, and of course that would be Tracy Spitzer. So if she has anything that she would like to add, I know that this was not something that was easy for them last time around, and it has caused a backlog, et cetera. But, if there is some way that we can help facilitate things for the juvenile court, but I would stand down now and open the floor for anyone else who would like to offer up information. Thank you.
Go to Commissioner Fritz next, and then if we'll catch any department heads and get back to the commissioners. Commissioner Fritz.
I know we're set up to where we can pay our property taxes through drive-through. We can go buy our car tags through a drive-through, but there's a lot of work that goes through the zoning office. So my biggest concern would be, what work would we shut down going on in the county by refusing people to come in and try to get work done through the zoning office? To my knowledge, there's nothing set up to where people can get things signed off and permits and things of that nature done. And things that has to be done through the zoning office. I'd hate to see us to hurt people that are doing things. I mean, I've had work done in my house here lately, and they've come in with masks on. I've had stuff done in another house, and they've come in and they've worked with masks on. But you don't want them to do things that would shut down their livelihood by them not being able to go through the zoning office to do work that they need to do to continue doing support their business or families and things of that nature.
And Commissioner Fritz, they can certainly call in, make an appointment where someone from the zoning office could meet with them outside of the building if necessary. There are different ways that this can be done to protect everybody.
Well, that's just my concern, is that we need to keep doing things right and safe, but not put hardship on the other people.
Totally agree.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you very much. It was about 2 weeks ago, December the 9th, we had 510 active cases in Anderson County, 35 deaths. 4 days ago, we had 300 less than what we have today on the active list. Today, we've got 6 more deaths. That's just in 4 days. There's 96 people hospitalized. You can't get a room at the hospital right now because of the number of people that are in there. They're saying that once you're tested positive, it's about 10 days or 14 days later, you come off of the active list. I've got a friend of mine who's had this for 3 weeks now and has been at home and is sick, but smart enough to stay in the house. We've had employees in Anderson County, whether they're out in the field, they're in the sheriff's department, EMS, or in the courthouse itself, get COVID. We've had departments that have had to get shut down that are in the courthouse because of COVID. And it's obvious that, you're going to have people that are complaining about having to wear a mask, but for God's sakes, wash your hands, people. Stay 6 feet apart. It's been, preached to us how this stuff travels. And it's been out there since March that we were made aware of it at a county commission conference in Nashville. The elected officials are capable of running their own departments. They're capable, the department heads are capable of figuring out how to make themselves available to the public that need them.
Thank you, Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Val.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do agree with Commissioner Scott. I believe our department heads can well run their departments and they can decide what necessary precautions that they need to take. That brings up the question that I have. I don't believe that a motion, a passed motion is necessary for our department heads to take these precautionary actions that have been recommended here tonight. I don't blame our department heads for wanting to do this, but I don't believe it requires action on our part. Therefore, I'll be voting no on this motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Waddell.
Commissioner Val just took some of the things I was going to say. The only thing that I'd like to add to this is the last time we shut the courthouse down, we didn't consult with the judges, and I'll be voting no, but I want to make sure that if we did do this, that the judges were okay with it. And, there's people who need to pay their court fees and court costs, and they have to come to the court clerk to do that. That's not something that they can do through a drive-through. So these are all just things to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any department heads or employees that dialed in the last few minutes that would like to speak on this?
Let me just say that I believe Don Elledge is a judge. I had a conversation with him earlier today. He is in full favor within the boundaries that are required by the state judges group. I have talked with Rex Lynch, who has had conversation with Judge Layton. He too is set up and has no problem with moving forward. So the only judges I have not talked to would have been, of course, Cantrell and or Clark as far as what they would need. But my conversations were with Rex Lynch, and he seemed to indicate that things can certainly be handled as needed.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Commissioner Smallridge.
Yes, I realize this, if this motion is approved, it could create some problems for departments, but I think in light of what's happening with the virus, it's a good move. I think we've had some really big increases in the last few weeks. And I think we should go ahead and do this. I think we can work through any issues that might arise relative to the closing of the facilities.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Creasy.
Oh, yes, I want to thank everyone for joining in this conversation. We've had this before, and we definitely, at a very minimum, need anyone coming to the courthouse to wear a mask. I was told the last time we had this discussion that the masks were required on the third floor, but not on the other floors. I would like to support this motion. I'm going to support it just to show my support that we need to do all we can to protect our employees. Our number one asset is our employees. We've had several to be out sick, several to have to quarantine, several on leave. We've had shortages of employees in departments that made it difficult for them to operate. I'm hoping that I feel like we may not be doing all we can. And I certainly want to make all efforts to support and protect our employees and their citizens. I'll vote for this to show my support that we need to do everything we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meade.
Yeah, I want to make sure people understand that the judges already, because of separate state law, has the authority to regulate almost anything in the area of the courts. They already have that authority. It's already been required for a long, long time that anybody going anywhere in the area of the courts or on the third floor is required to have a mask. They also have their temperature taken as they come through the front door. Commission on and so the judges had the authority to require masks. But commission does not have authority to require masks in the rest of the building. And so this would just be another way to kind of go at the same thing. I'm not real excited about this, but closing down finding good ways to get around people having to come to the courthouse, I think is a good thing. We need to keep in mind that all the areas of the courts, no one's allowed in there anyhow unless they have specific business. So it's already under control. And we can't say that people can't come to court because we're not letting them in the building. So if it's good, that all has to be controlled by the judges and their rules. So I'm just concerned that this is going to cause more problems than we think. And trying to require masks on the part of the county commission is above our authority. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Mead. Commissioner Scott, if you would, could you restate your motion, and if there's if there's a date that it's effective or to when, if you can include that, just for everybody's clarification.
Sure. My motion's actually to close the facility itself to public input or access as in coming in the buildings.
Closing just the courthouse itself, or all county?
It'd have to be the elected officials' offices. So you're going to have, DMV or Jeff Cole's office, as an example, out in Andersonville. The public wouldn't be allowed to go in there. They could utilize a drop box, drive through, pick up the phone, and ask their questions. However, they did it the last time around. That was just back in March. I'm not telling people to put a mask on. They're not doing it already. The guy that's at the door is taking a temperature, but what's he going to do? Tell you, oh, you've got a temperature that's rating high on my little meter here, so you need to leave? It's pretty unlikely.
That's exactly what he does.
Right.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Yes. Well, first of all, this very issue is why there is a committee process, to be able to give us the time to raise these issues and get legal answers to such issues. So here live on the floor, I had to email Jay, who said he wasn't entirely sure if it was even legally what the status was. And I believe he reached out to CTAS to try to get an answer. So these are discussions that are happening behind or not transparent to the public. But with that in mind, we need to remember that I think we are confusing what was the governor's executive order that did allow for closures. But what it did exempt from that was state government and its political subdivisions, which are us as local governments. And so we were ruled an essential service at that time, even under the executive order, and that was Executive Order 22 back in March, that allowed closures and businesses to shut down, and it was the stay-at-home order. And so the state of Tennessee and its political subdivisions are an essential service to the public. And so based on that foundation, and with the help of County Commission for funding, for emergency purchases, we have made numerous modifications in Anderson County government in order to make the operations safe. I also, while there may be a feeling of what may be the safest and right thing to do, we also need to make sure that we are in compliance with the Administrative Office of the Courts and their rules for access to the building. So I have had a couple of conversations with Judge Elledge about this myself. In fact, when I started seeing the cases spike. Many weeks ago, one of the number one areas of traffic in this particular building is for the courts. And so I did reach out to him, and at that point in time, they were still, there are still, even with the current orders, there are still requirements where there has to be the operation of the courts or access to. And those are all laid out in that executive order. So we would need to make sure that whatever we did there is in compliance with those orders of the court. And then we're leaving out, you know, our county building, another county building, for example, is the Anderson County Health Department. And we see patients at the DARC building. We see folks in need of medical assistance. And it sounds simple to say that we're going to move to a virtual only, but yet we offer many essential services to the public, and we owe the public and we owe our employees to do it in the safest way. But we cannot shut down government without some kind of order from the government as a political subdivision of the state. The other thing is, you know, and I don't mean this to sound critical, but when we who are asking taxpayers for contributions to operate government and fees for services, when we tell the public that we're going to close our facility to them, the people who are paying us, to the people we serve, this is really a move of luxury for those out there who are doing the mail delivery. Our EMS folks, our law enforcement folks, our solid waste folks, our fleet service folks, none of them really have the ability to work from home. You can't accept recyclables virtually. You cannot accept found dogs or answer a call virtually. And so we're forgetting about a lot of that. And our best path is to do it the best way we can. Nathan, as an example, sent out an email how all the steps that they are taking. But I understand the desire to keep people safe. And I will disagree with one of the statements made tonight. We have had exposures, but here at the courthouse, we, to my knowledge, are not having transmission from employee to employee. It has usually been a family event where employee was exposed, they come in, they find out, and we have had to quarantine a department, but thank goodness, no employee to employee transmission. So we're taking the steps. I want the public to understand that. We have had the remarkable and wonderful help of the Sheriff's Department in setting up protocols at the front entrance where we take visitors' temperatures. They're questioned if they've had any contact with COVID. We have signage. Just like the schools, we are a star. I've shared this information with numerous other counties. We have the bipolar ionization. This is the same technology that the airlines use. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're not seeing those transmissions in our schools or in our county buildings. Does it mean we're completely immune? No, but I think we're ahead of the game. But I don't think this, I've got to be strong on this. I don't think we can do it. And then I also don't think we have the authority under the law to be able to do it. But I would recommend, if we want to bring it up, give Jay time to do the legal research. If we want to work on that, he could make sure that this motion is in compliance with all the executive orders under an emergency, and then also in compliance with the courts.
Thank you, Mayor Frank. And I also want to apologize, Mayor. I skipped right over your report So I didn't see the action. There weren't any action items, so I just totally missed it. I'll come back around to you for questions or anything after this. Commissioner Smallridge.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Commissioner Scott if, I didn't hear a time frame for this closure. I mean, I know some of the school systems are closing till after the holidays, and whether that was something that she considered in her motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Smallridge. I did specify elected officials. I mean, we don't have the right to say that schools should be closed and this is when they close. But it would only make sense because these numbers are just rolling over at such a pace that, the sooner we do it, the better off we are, perhaps starting on Monday, to allow the officials to set their, their staff up and their means and methods, and get notification out to the public that, as of this date, this is what we're going to do. But that's one of the reasons why I was specifying that it's the elected officials.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Yeager.
I'd like to make a motion that we refer this to operations so that we can get a full reckoning from the law director and the elected officials and the business offices. I think this is a rush into judgment, and I don't feel comfortable with this motion.
This Commissioner Meade, I would second that motion.
Oral motion by Commissioner Yeager, seconded by Commissioner Meade. Commissioner Denenberg.
Well, I just wanted to clarify, in reading the report that was sent out by Kim Jeffers, the HR director, that Anderson County government has actually seen 15 workplace exposures. In other words, employee to employee since March. So we have had contact amongst our employees, but I just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Denenberg. Okay, so we need to, I guess we need to vote on the referral motion. Is that right? All right, let's go to the board and vote on the motion to refer this to operations. Thirteen yes, 3 no. Motion passes.
It's the Operations Committee report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Isbell. Next, we've got the Charter Commission report. Is there anyone on the Charter Commission that it's they just need I guess, Jay, you could probably speak on this, just needing approval to hire outside counsel.
You've already approved that under Robbie's report.
That was under Robbie. Oh, okay. So we've already finished that. Okay, let's go back to the mayor's report real quick. I'm sorry, Mayor Frank, I skipped over you earlier.
That's okay. I didn't have any action items. They were all on the committee reports, and I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And I did, if I said no workplace to workplace exposure, what I intended to mean was no workplace to workplace positive exposure. So where it yielded a positive infection. So to my knowledge, that has not occurred. And in fact, I know one department who beefed up their protocols, their particular workplace exposure was actually several of them within one department, and it was an individual from outside who they allowed to sit in and visit with them, and that ended up being one of the exposure incidents. But I was referring to the condition of the facility here not being conducive to a transmission. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for Mayor Frank?
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, I did want to, Commissioner Wandell had asked me to look into lighting for the Claxton intersection. I have tracked that down with TDOT. It is, that is something that is the responsibility of either your county jurisdiction or if it is within a municipality. So you would work with the utility companies. So I did reach out to Mr. Fay. And while it is our responsibility, it would also mean getting TDOT's approval for the engineering or the placement. And so Mr. Fay is helping us get the name of folks that are skilled and have done that work for other municipalities and other counties. So we'll get a few options on some firms, and I'll continue to pursue that. And then in addition, for Commissioner Wandell, he had asked, as we had USDA at the operations meeting on the animal shelter grant loan project, if I could work with Claxton, and I just wanted to report back that we do have a meeting. I do have a meeting set up with them for January 4th in the morning to look at the facility, see what their needs are, and take the next steps there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smallridge.
Yes, going back to our previous discussion on the motion to close the courthouse, we're looking at the operations committee, 2 or 3 weeks from now? Just wondering if there was any way to expedite consideration. I don't have a problem with reviewing this, considering it, but I just hate to have it drag on for 2 or 3 weeks, and a lot of problems could ensue in that time period. So I don't know if that's possible or not.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jay. Can I speak just a minute?
Go ahead.
I contacted CTAS to confirm the legal footing on this issue today. They're working from home. Their legal department is. I should get a call back tomorrow. So I'll send everybody an email on what I find out as soon as I get a response from them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Fritz.
I had a hard time getting my mic on there. I just want to let the mayor know that I'm sure Commissioner Wandell has been getting the same type of comments I've been getting too, but I've been getting a lot of favorable reviews and comments over the possibility of getting lights at that intersection there, at the red light there in Claxton. Everybody I've talked to is very excited over that possibility because of the high traffic there and the possibility of getting that place lit up so they can properly see where you need to go and how to go and things of that nature. So there's excitement and a lot of favorable reviews about getting that area took care of.
Excellent.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner McCamey.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the lighting, I felt all along that it was going to be something that the county would be responsible for. But I thought since we were originally responsible for the red light there, or the traffic light rather, that TDOT might help us out there with some lighting, but I'm not sure. But I'm glad the mayor's still on that, and I still am very supportive of lighting that intersection.
Thank you, Commissioner McCamey. Any other questions for the mayor? All right, well, hope you have a good Christmas. Thank you. Next, we've got under resolutions, we've got resolution 20-12-837 establishing the meeting dates and times for our commission meetings for 2021. Has everybody reviewed that? Motion by Commissioner Isabel, second by Commissioner Meade. Any discussion on the motion? All right, let's vote. Motion passes unanimously. New business? Does anyone have any items? Any old business? Any announcements? All right, well, if not, I hope everyone has a good Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we can stand adjourned.
Good job, Josh.
Thank you.